Chapter 2. He shook his head. "I really am sorry," he said. "Man, your clothes are soaking wet. You must be freezing." He carried me towards the room. "Don't worry, though. I'll get you in some nice warm water, wash this hair of yours, and make you feel better." Better? How could he make me feel better? The only way I would feel better is at home, in my own bed, and with my parents. He held me tightly against his body. It was warm. It was inviting. I began to feel just how cold I was. He brought me into a bathroom and sat me down on the counter. Though the feeling of the bathroom was inviting, steamy with the previous women's showers, I couldn't even see my reflection in the mirror. This wasn't a typical bathroom, though. Separate from the bathtub was a walk-in shower. Adjacent from the bathtub was a toilet that connected to a large countertop with a sink. More concerning was the built-in salon chair in the middle of the room. Even more concerning about this chair was the Velcro straps that were attached to it, probably to keep women, me, in the chair, at mercy to the hairstylist's tools that were sitting on the cart next to it. The man walked away from me to start running water into the bathtub. I considered running away, but my muscles were stiff and cold, my energy drained, probably from the sedative they gave me. It also didn't help that my ankles were tied. I rested my head against the wall. I felt lightheaded. The man sat on the tub, grabbing a clipboard on the floor. "So, I'm going to explain everything to you. The only thing I ask is that you don't speak unless I ask you to, or leave all questions to the end. Are you okay with that?" he asked. "Do I really have a choice?" I replied. "No, but it usually works better for you in the end if you just comply with me. Are you going to give me trouble and make this hard on yourself, or would you like it to go smooth and easy?" "I will listen," I meekly said. I hesitated to speak again, however I mustered up the courage to do so. "Listen, these zip ties are really starting to hurt my wrists and my feet," I said. I could see rashes of blood from the ties. "Oh, listen, I promise. I won't cause any trouble. Can you take them off?" I added. The man pondered it, and then he stood up. He used a pair of scissors to cut through them. "I'll take them off for now, but you will be bound again by them. It's procedure," he said. I nodded my head. He held my hands lightly after cutting the ties. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry," he said apologetically. "I understand why you wanted these off now." He picked up my wrists and kissed them. I blushed. "I'll make sure to put something on your wrists before zip-tying them again." Who was he calling honey? And who asked him to leave a kiss on my wrists? He stood back, grabbing the clipboard and turning the water off in the bathtub. "To start off, my name is Michael," he said as he sat back down in the bathtub. "I have some questions for you to answer. Nod yes or shake no for the answer. No talking unless the question calls for it. Try to keep your answers one word." I nodded to his statements. "Can I ask a question first?" I asked. He frowned but nodded his head. "Can I use the toilet?" Lightly he laughed. "Yes, sorry, I should have asked that before." He nodded. I slowly climbed off the counter and clumsily made my way to the toilet. Michael was watching me. "Can you turn around? It's kind of awkward," I said. He put his hands up and turned around. I quickly used the toilet and then sat back down on the counter. The toilet paper was damp from all the steam in the room. "Okay, I'm ready now." He nodded his head and got right to the point. "First off, have you ever been in a sexual relationship before?" I shook my head for no. "Are you a virgin?" I nodded my head for yes. "What's your name?" Karen, I replied. Last name? Oakley. How old are you? I'm 18. I just turned 18. He paused before speaking more. All right. So what's going to happen to you is I'm going to undress you. I'm going to take everything off. I'm going to wash you from head to toe. You're going to be shaven in the respectful places. You're going to feel things in different places. But I'm not going to have sex with you. His tone was reassuring on the last part, enunciating each word. But there are things that might feel uncomfortable, so try to relax. Some of this might actually feel good, he mentioned, though I couldn't believe it. I'll wash your hair, get all that nasty mud out, and then I'll dry it. Probably cut it a bit. I sat and listened, holding myself to stay warm. The heat of the bathroom felt like it was thawing me out. I will be asking questions such as, does this feel good? Is this uncomfortable? After I am finished with you in here, if I haven't done so already before the end, you will be zip-tied once more, blindfolded with no clothes on. You will be taken up the stairs where you will meet another man who will then take you to the stage and people will try to buy you. Now, what happens if they buy you will be up to the person. You will most likely be a submissive or slave, however. If you want things to be easy for you, do as told, don't rebel, just do. I nodded my head. I wasn't crying now, though as he told me what would happen, I wanted to. I felt my cheeks getting hot. I think we can start. You look like you could use some warmth anyways. He set his clipboard down and walked over. He took my hands to stand me up, and he reached down with them to pull my shirt over top of my head and into a garbage bag full of other clothes. I flinched when he moved his hands down my cold body to my jeans and undid them. He slid them down as he crouched down with them. Step out, he instructed. I did what he told me. I stumbled and held on to his shoulders for support. He stood up and left me for a moment, almost completely naked. He tossed the jeans in the garbage can to join my shirt. He ran his hands up my legs, squeezing my butt when he had reached my underwear. Noticing me tense, he spoke. I want you to just relax. Close your eyes, he mentioned. It was hard for me to try and relax. His hands reached past my underwear and up my back to where the bra hooks were attached. With his warm hands, he unhooked them and worked the bra off my arms. He caressed my dirty, matted hair. When brushed and cleaned, my hair would reach below the middle of my back. Right now, it was a knotty mess. He flung the bra to the garbage, and now his thumbs were in my underwear. I shut my eyes tightly, and there were a couple tears. Don't worry, the only thing I'll be doing is playing. I don't plan to harm you in any way. This is all for you. He began tugging on the underwear and pulled them down to my feet. What was left was a bushy brown mess. On top of that, my legs hadn't been shaved in the last little bit either. It was off-season training. I didn't care, though now I wish I had. You have strong legs. You must be an athlete, he commented. I didn't say anything. I just stood still. He led me to the shower, not the bathtub. He started the taps and he extended one hand around my waist and the other testing the temperature. He stood me under the warm running water. For once, the warmth I was feeling set into my cold body. Now I want to make sure that you don't do anything. I want to do everything. So I'm going to put your wrists in here. It's just to keep your arms out of the way, he said. He reached one hand above my head and attached it to a padded cuff that was hanging from the ceiling of the shower. He did the same with my other hand. I could feel the warm water running over my back and the sting of clean water disinfect the cuts on my wrist. I don't want you to do things by yourself. I want to do it all for you. I blushed at what he had said. He grabbed a large, soft sponge and wetted it. He grabbed a bottle full of a light caramel color and poured some on. He used his hands to lather the sponge up, and then he pressed it against my body, slowly moving it across my sides and in front of my stomach. Melodically, he ran it across my entire body. The sweet smell of vanilla and brown sugar filled my nose. He ran it across my chest. His other hand reached up my side and began to caress my left breast. Gently, he squeezed it and played around with it. He never squeezed too hard. He switched hands, and the other hand now lathered my body and his other hand on my right breast, always gently squeezing. I felt a funny feeling. I didn't know how to explain it, but it felt good. But how could I be enjoying this? My mouth hung ever so slightly open. "You enjoy that," he said. I just meekly nodded. He sponged my back from behind me. Now I couldn't see him, and he moved the sponge up and down. I then felt both of his hands on my breasts. They were gently squeezing. They were caressing. His fingers played with my nipples, making them feel numb. "Your breasts are the perfect size. They will cup any man's hands just perfectly," he mentioned. Ashamed, I moaned it felt good when he played with them. It felt weird. I felt the sensation in my breasts, and I felt the sensation move to my lower half. I had never played with myself before, nor did I think it sensible. Not a Christian thing to do. "I'm going to move down your legs," he said, and he picked up the sponge once again to go over each leg. He spent time running his hands over my butt and coming very close to my fuzzy private parts, but he didn't touch them. "Wait here," he said. He moved out of the shower to retrieve something. It was a razor and a can of shaving cream. He also grabbed a stool. "I want you to sit on this." He reached up to release my arms. It felt nice to not have my arms hanging above my head. I held my wrists. The cuts on my wrists weren't as bad as I thought, but they still stung. Having my arms a bit above me wasn't the most comfortable position either. I sat down on the stool. I was thankful my body had warmed up. As I stuck one leg out for him, my arms, like habit, covered my chest. He lathered it in shaving cream and then used the razor to swipe the hair away. He did the same on the other leg. "Now that's better," he said. "Now raise one of your arms." My arms were not too bad. He repeated the process on my armpits. "We will leave your little bush for when you're in the chair. But let's wash it," he said. He spread my legs and he reached for another bottle, which I believed to be shampoo. He squirted some in his hand and began to lather my brown mop. He made sure to rub it in very deeply, as I felt his fingers play as well. He stood up and grabbed the shower head and pulled it down so it washed the suds out. He then did the same thing with conditioner. "Now, your hair looks like it's quite a mess. I'm not sure if I'm going to easily get the knots out of here," he said. "We might have to cut some out." I shuddered at the thought of someone cutting my hair. I liked having long hair, and the thought of having it short scared the hell out of me. Please don't cut so much if you do." "Shh," he comforted. He lathered his hands once again and came behind me to lather my hair. It felt wonderful. His strong fingers massaged my head. I felt like I was dreaming. His hands moved forward and backward across my head, scratching, and the shampoo smelt amazing as well. He rinsed it out, trying to work out the tangles and mud chunks that he could. He poured a large amount of conditioner on his hand and then added it to my hair. He made sure the conditioner reached all ends of my hair. Reaching outside the shower, he had grabbed a hair clip and twisted my hair off my neck, holding it in place. "I will let the conditioner do the work and see if it can soften up some of the knots." He reached for the taps and turned them off. I'm going to get you to sit in that chair. I'm going to shave this here bush off you, and then I'll let you sit in the bath. Now go sit, he said. To prepare you for the road ahead, I'm going to act a little more forceful. From now on, I want you to reply with yes, sir. He spoke. Yes, sir, I said awkwardly, as he pushed me towards the chair. Before I sat down, he grabbed me with a stern hold and roughly dried my body. He pushed me into the chair and grabbed each of my arms and strapped them to the chair as well as my waist. My feet were on a platform, but it began to raise. He took each foot and put one in a holster and secured them. My legs were spread wide, and it was a tad uncomfortable. I preferred him when he was kinder. He then grabbed another towel and made sure my area was dry. He even grabbed a comb and combed it. It felt weird, but at the same time it felt good, even though it hurt when something was knotted. With no attachment, he buzzed through the mop. He was very careful not to clip anything else. His hands were precise. I never thought I would like the sound of clippers, but even the clippers were melodic, and just the act of being down there was amazing. When the bulk of hair was gone and nothing was left but stubble, he grabbed a dish, filled with warm lathering cream, and spread it all over and used a straight razor to scrape it clean. He used a sweet-smelling lotion afterwards to cover everything. Now, let's see what you are like down there, now that I can see everything. He turned around and reached for another bottle. I was unsure of what he was grabbing. He put a tiny amount of the contents on his fingers, and then they went to play. They moved around my freshly shaven area, fingering, playing, moving quickly, then moving slowly. They stroked gently, leaving me in a shameful amazement. Ah! It was an uncontrollable ah, when his finger found its way into my opening. Seeing my reaction to the pain he had just caused, he moved his finger gentler. I winced once more as his fingers retreated the inside of my vagina. Pleasingly, his fingers began to stroke once more. This feeling was uncontrollable. I felt my body begin to tense, my hands clenching the armrest, and within seconds, my body relaxed and his fingers moved away. I took a gasp of air, realizing that I had been holding my breath. How did that feel? He harmoniously asked. I've never felt something like this, I answered, almost out of breath. How could something so bad feel so good? That was easy to do, Michael said, leaning in towards my face, and he brushed his lips against mine. But I have some words of wisdom. Learn to control the urge to come. As a submissive, you will be enjoyed more and punished less, as the dominant will most likely tell you when you can come. You may receive a severe punishment. You could go days never being told to play with yourself, never being allowed to orgasm, or you will be played tricks on. They might come close to letting you, and then just stop. I wasn't paying attention to what he was saying. I felt tired after what he had just did. He undid the straps, and this time he helped me up. Go sit in the bath, he said. I did as he instructed and sat in the bath. It was warm, and I felt a foreign feeling of water against the parts that had always been covered with a little bit of hair. My body relaxed, almost forgetting the situation I was in. Michael reached for the shower head of the bathtub. I apologize, this might hurt, he said. He had grabbed a wide-toothed comb and unclipped my hair. Gently, he tried to work bottom up, trying to get as many knots out as he could. I tried not to wince when hair pulled. Damn, this is a rat nest, he mentioned. I need to cut this out, he added. My heart sunk. I knew it was going to happen. How much hair was he going to cut? My body began to tense with fear. He rubbed my shoulders using the water from the soapy tub, trying to relax me. If you put up any kind of fight, I will zip tie your hands back together, he whispered into my ear. The words sent chills down my spine. 1 minute he was kind, and the next he was scaring me. "Yes, sir," was all I said. He ran his hands across my body once again, but now that he started acting like he was in full control, it didn't feel good anymore. One hand left my body while the other continued to rub it. I couldn't see what he was doing. But then I heard a familiar and eerie sound and gasped. They were scissors making their way through with the chomping sound, gnawing through my hair. I began to pull away, but with his one hand he firmly wrapped it around me to keep me from moving. "I told you what would happen if you didn't cooperate," he said. I felt pieces of my wet hair on the back of my skin. I really wasn't expecting what happened next. With force, he pushed my body so my head went underneath the tap of the tub. Starting the water, cold water, he rinsed my hair out. I swallowed a bunch of water until he stopped the taps. I coughed out what water was left in my mouth. He stood up and grabbed a towel. I tried to inch away in the bathtub, but he roughly picked me up, drying me off and setting me in the chair once again, completely naked. I'm sorry. You just took me by surprise," I whimpered. What was he going to do now? The leather on the chair didn't feel welcoming this time. Petrified with fear, my arms and legs were strapped in. There was a leather strap against my waist and then finally around my neck. "Please don't do this anymore. I want to go home. Please, no more," I pleaded. I was trying to be as quiet as possible. With his change of acting, all the securities that he built up for me had been shattered. He was reaching for something else now. "Open your mouth," he said. "I want you to shut up." I didn't know what he was doing until he shoved a hard plastic ball into my mouth and then taped it over. I could only breathe through my nose. I had to try and stop crying so I could breathe through it. "I gave you a chance," he said. He began combing through what hair I had. Without the knotted tangles from what he cut, it went smoothly. He didn't really cut that much, but as he finished combing, he was cutting more hair to even it out. I was sure that he took a good 3.5 inches off my hair. "You know, I think you would really look cute with short hair. Maybe I should cut it here," he said, picking up the hair and placing it just under my chin. "Or maybe even use the clippers," he said. I squeezed my eyes shut. I couldn't see what he was doing as the chair did not face the mirror. Suddenly, I heard the whir of the clippers. It frightened me as he pressed them near my ear. But he didn't cut anything with them. And I think maybe you could use some sort of bangs. The sound of the clippers stopped and I heard him bring the scissors up. He was opening and closing them. He combed a section of my hair to the front and gave me side bangs that theoretically I could still push behind my ear. "There, that looks better," he said. "Now let's dry it." I had a sigh of relief. I think he was done. Even though it wasn't much, it felt horrible. My hair was still long, but just that 3 or so inches was terrible. He dried my hair, making the large curls, and it bounced. When he finished drying it, he touched up the ends with scissors, making my bangs fall to the side even more. Once done, he grabbed new tools. It was makeup. Carefully, he put eyeliner and mascara on my eyes and made them look big. After finishing this, he unstrapped me. I didn't move, though. "Stay here," he said sternly. I listened. As if it were just for a moment, the kindness in his voice came back as he approached me with a couple silk ribbons, tying them on each of my wrists. He kissed my wrists once again, but that was only for a moment. "Stand up," he said forcefully. I slowly started to stand up, but he grabbed me to move faster. He pushed my arms behind my back and zip-tied them together, the silk ribbon only providing a little bit of barrier between the harsh edges of the ties. Within seconds, he had wrapped another silk blindfold around my eyes so I couldn't see. I couldn't see, and I couldn't scream for help. My dignity had been tossed out a window and ran over by a train. All I could do was hear and listen to instructions. I was a chess piece, unable to do anything until moved by someone. "I wish you good luck," he said. He grabbed the paper on the clipboard and opened the bathroom door and began pushing me up the stairs. I heard the knock 3 times. I then felt the presence of a man in front of me. The masculine hands grabbed my shoulders firmly. "Come with me," the man said huskily, and forcefully pushed me. I didn't know where I was going.